Aideron Robotics.
Hello, let's take a bit of time to talk about your new faction warfare overview and what the tabs mean, how to use them. We're not going to go into a great detail about how to tweak overviews, but at least get started using this one. Now, I don't have it set up. If you see here, I've got the default CCP overview, which does not work for faction warfare. You will need to go to the Corp channel, message of the day, go under overviews, click on Faction Warfare Newbro Overview, load it, and now you'll see I've got this lovely setup overview ready to go for faction warfare. A couple of things to note about the various tabs that are on this overview. I've set this one up. Look, nothing's perfect, everything's a compromise, but in this case I've set the PvP tab, which is probably your best place to start, particularly in a small gang. It shows all the ships on grid with you, friendly and non-friendly. It also shows a number of other things such as Stargate, beacons, some citadels, stations, suns, iHubs. Great for small gang getting around and just feeling confident that you know you're in the right place and who is on grid with you, whether they be friendly or not. I know these guys are friendly because they're showing up as in my fleet. Also, any of the blues and purples, usually light blue, dark blue, purples are set up for friendlies. Yellows, reds, or just neutral greys for neutrals or others, non-friendlies, war targets. We'll talk about those in a moment. In fact, let's quickly do that. If you see over here in my local, this pilot has jumped in and they are flashing. The reason their little color tag is flashing is because they are a war target. I can shoot them. That's good news. Anything that's got a flashing color tag, either in here in your local, depending, well, with this overview, it should be flashing if they're a war target, or on your overview here. If their little color tag is flashing, go for it. Anywhere in low sec, on a gate, on a station, anywhere. There are sometimes where you cannot attack someone who's not a friendly if they are not flashing. We'll talk about that shortly. Let's go through the tabs. These guys are showing up, so all ships on grid and these things. If I flick over to PvP ships though, because sometimes you might get into a fight in a large fleet, 20 to 30 guys, and it starts to get a bit crowded on this other tab because you've got your fleet, others, enemy. Too hard to sift through who's who. Flick over here and you'll only see ships, and you will only see ships that are not friendly. So they are all engageable depending on what targets your FC calls. The drones tab will show you the drones from these ships. It won't show you friendly drones. It'll show you drones from these ships. You may be called by the FC to target drones. In fact, let's just do that now. I'm going to get Pyro to release a couple of drones. No, I won't, because we've got him set up as friendly. We'll do that soon. Blues shows you friendlies that are on grid. So that's good. Those two obviously friendlies are in my fleet. See how they don't show on the reds. They do show on blues. PvE is set up specifically for PvE play. Wrecks, if you need to loot any wrecks, once things start to get destroyed, they'll show up here. So at the end of the fight, it might be good to just go and loot a few items and see what you can get from that. Descan and escape is another important one. Descan and escape shows you a number of celestials, things like asteroid belts, stargates, planets, moons. So if you're trying to locate someone in system using a descan, these are a lot of the places you can point your descan at to have a look if you're within range. Very importantly as well, if you're in a fight here and let's say you're running your PvP ships only overview tab, and you start getting targeted, taking damage, and you see you are about to die, quickly jump over to the descan and escape, click something sort of down towards the bottom of the list and spam warp. Right? That will get your pod out from the fight. So even if you lose your ship, it'll get your pod out to one of these places. So from here you can quickly jump onto descan, escape, hit something down here, spam, and you're off. Miscellaneous is free. You can tweak that however you like as you get familiar with your overviews. Let's go back here to my PvP tab. I am going to change the standing. In fact, I'm going to boot Pyro Ninja from fleet. There you go. And because he is set neutral, let's have a look at his standings. If I go to contact, he's set as neutral. You'll see that he's still showing on my main PvP tab. He's not friendly anymore, but he's still showing. He's not flashing because he's not either a war target or criminal or suspect. Now that means on a gate in low-sec or at a station, I cannot engage him without taking gate guns or station guns because he's not flashing. Be very careful with that. So he's showing up on this tab. If I flick over here to my PvP ships only, he should show. Great, because all I'm doing is filtering out the friendlies. Let's get him to launch some drones. Okay. Let's see, where are they? And if I have a look now at the drones tab, I can see his acolytes are there, and I can target them just as I would. There they are. Just as I would any ship, and I can attack them. So if the FC calls you to kill drones, jump over to the drones tab. You'll see the drones for any of the ships that are showing here, and you can deal with them as required. Blues, you'll see here it's only showing jump to me, not. Let's get those drones in before they make me dizzy. It's only showing our friendly fleet member because we've now filtered out anyone who's not friendly on this tab, etc., etc. The rest is as described. So you'll see here both pilots showing non-friendly, friendlies. I hope that makes sense to you. So this notion of flashing or non-flashing is quite important to let you know who you can shoot on a gate or at a station. I'm going to change Pyro's setting. His standings to terrible. You'll see his background color will change. He's no longer neutral. He's got a terrible standing with me, but he's still not flashing. On a gate or at a station, I can't engage him without taking consequences. However, if I was to invite him to a duel, and let's get accept, you'll see now his color tag, both here and in my local, is now flashing. He has a limited engagement with me. The way this overview is set up is that if the color tag is flashing, you can engage them on gates, on stations without any consequences. Now that would be war targets, suspects, people with security status less than 5, criminals, people with limited engagements. Some pilots have their background color, this whole color section flashing. I find that drives me crazy if you've got a screen full of flashes. If you hit a war target fleet, it's like Christmas. There's lights going off everywhere. So I tend to leave the colors static but have the tags flashing. So if the color tag is flashing, then you can engage without any consequences. So that's quite important. And you'll see, like I mentioned, this war target here, they're flashing. So I know that I can engage them. That's probably it for now, just so you know what each of them do. One thing I would say is as you start to get a little more comfortable with this, or you want to use this PvP tab, but you're finding it just gets a little bit congested as you're getting into larger groups, one thing you can do on here is if you go to Open Overview Settings, and we go to States, this is where we can set the settings for each tab. One thing you can do here is if you want to remove your fleet members from this main PvP tab, on the States window, come down till you see pilot is in your fleet and change that to filter out. As you do that, you'll see that jump to me disappeared. So now on my main PvP tab, all I see are non-friendlies. My friendlies will still show up in the blues tab. So if I need to just check I'm in the right place or that I'm on grid with my fleet, you can always check that. So as you get more comfortable and you don't feel that you need that support of knowing that who's around you in space, you can always filter them out and just see them then on the blues tab. Look, I hope that's enough to get you going for now. We'll maybe do a video on overviews and the actual ins and outs of them another time, but that's enough to get you flying using our Faction Warfare Newbro Overview. Cheers.